don't know, for me, everything about these pictures is completely different. And like, I feel like it's really a stretch to go and say that they're both looking down and that makes the covers similar. So I just made a video talking about all the Easter eggs and fan theories for Midnights, and you guys seem to really like that. So thank you, and here we are again, going to talk about some more Swiftie stuff. And in this video, we're gonna be covering her latest lawsuit, where as of August 23rd, Teresa La Dart, an author and poet, has filed a lawsuit against Taylor. She claims a number of creative elements from her self-published book, Lover, a collection of poems, anecdotes, and photos, were copied by Taylor in her book accompanying the deluxe edition of her Lover album. So before we get into it, of course, I'm just gonna quickly show you what we're talking about. Now, just looking at this briefly, it looks like it was designed, and I say this with like all due respect to her and the designers, but it looks like this was designed on like an early version of like PowerPoint, using word art and just like free graphic elements. And my point is that to me, aesthetically, this does not really resemblance the artwork for Lover or the cover for the book accompanying Lover. And she's suing Taylor for $1 million, by the way, in damages. All right, so what is exactly La Dart saying that Taylor stole or copied? She says Taylor stole both the vibe and the design of her book, as well as the format of it being like a collection of pictures and writings. So I got the lawsuit right here, so I'm gonna walk you through like the main claims that she's making and look at some comparisons. I'm also gonna link to the lawsuit below in case you want to check it out for yourself. And I just want to say the quality of the evidence she submitted is so bad. I don't know if this was intentional on her part, like she thought that if she made it bad quality, it would be more comparable, but the quality of the scans is just terrible. So first I'm gonna break down each of the allegations, and then we'll talk about them one by one and figure out if we think that she has a point or that she's just kind of fishing for money. So the first thing, of course, is just that both works have the same name, Lover. The next claim is that both use pastel pinks and blues on the artwork. Now the next three claims are all on the imagery. So for the front cover, she says that in both works, both authors are kind of like posing in a downward position. And then for the backside, she says both authors are kind of like looking up. So a juxtaposition of the front cover. And for the thank you page, both authors are outside in like nature and looking to the side. And she also claims that both the first pages on each book are really similar. And the final claim is just that both books, as I said, have like a collection of imagery and writing. So let's look at these one by one a little bit closer. So Lover is just a really common word. La Dart does not own this word. And it's not like Taylor saw this book of poems and was like, I'm just gonna name my entire album after this book and I'm just gonna write a whole song based on your book. So just the fact that it's like the same title to me doesn't hold any ground. The font isn't even remotely similar. And not to mention that the US Copyright Office records show that there's more than a dozen books with the title of just Lover. And so that's just not how copyright works. This claim on its own, I don't think is justifiable or like strong enough. And she also claims that both the first pages on each book are really similar. Now, the font on the first page of the book by Teresa La Dart is showing a font that's like slightly more similar to that of Taylor's Lover font, but that's just like a cursive. So I'm pretty sure you will find a lot of fonts where the L has like this curly thing, and like aside from that, they're really not that similar. Of course, the two pages, if you look at them, well, it says Lover by whatever, they're really not that similar. Just the fact that it says Lover does not make your pages similar. Like Taylor's one doesn't even say Taylor's name. Even with like the content is not the same. So now let's talk about the front cover, because her claim here is that both covers use like pink and blues, which yes, they do. It's funny because in the evidence she submitted, you actually can't really see the fact that her book is like light blue in the background, but I have like a better picture of it here so we can like better compare. But I'm just saying, like, the imagery is completely different. Taylor's has like a purple pink sky, and hers is like, we can see her, like, we can see that she's sitting down. We can practically see the chair. She has a dog. There's like a bookcase on the background. So the scene is completely different. The angle of the photo is completely different. And she's not really looking down like as much as Taylor is. Like, I don't know. For me, everything about these pictures is completely different. And like, I feel like it's really a stretch to go and say that they're both looking down and that makes the covers similar. Like slightly tilting your head down in one photo that's completely different from another photo doesn't mean that they're similar. So I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but I just don't think that that alone is a strong enough claim to say that she has stolen the concept. So now if we look at the back side, yes, there is a contrast of Taylor from looking down to looking up, and we can see that La Dart has done something similar. But I'm sorry to say, La Dart has not invented the concept of juxtaposition or having opposites and like things that contrast. You will find this in many, many, many works. So again, I don't think her saying, well, I'm looking up and then looking down, and she kind of does the same, makes these artworks similar in any way. Because again, if we look at the images, even the angle is completely different. For La Dart, we get like, again, we can see a lot more of her body than what we can see from Taylor. The angle is different. La Dart's face is like way more tilted than Taylor. And you know, like we can see her hair falling, like there's a sink next to her, like a kitchen towel, a bag, and Taylor's is completely different. And I think the setting is important to mention, because for the next claim, she says that in the thank you page, they're both looking sideways in an outside nature-y scenery. So for the other ones, she didn't think that the scenery was relevant. For this, she did. That's why I'm saying like, okay, in your other images, the scenery is completely different to what Taylor did. And here her argument is just that they're both facing kind of to the side, and that there's trees in the background a little bit, and it's like outdoor scene. But even with those components, these pages are completely different. She's written like a paragraph and has the image all together with the text. For Taylor's book, we have like a completely separate page with an image. She's written a lot more, and the vibe of the image is completely different from that of what she has put on her book. And I mentioned the vibe because that's kind of the wording that they used about like what Taylor Swift has stolen. And finally, as I said, she talks about how she kind of stole the concept of having writings and images, which that concept is not new. A lot of artists do this. A lot of people do this. You know, you didn't make that up. So this is kind of something that's like, okay, she was just shooting her shot. But I honestly think that most likely Taylor has never heard of this book and probably has never seen it. So I think individually, each of these claims are like not strong enough to make a case. The question is, together, do they make a stronger case? I think the answer to that is no. But I'm really curious what you guys think, having been presented this evidence. Maybe you see something that I don't see. Maybe you're like, okay, this is actually like too many things that are coincidentally similar, but I think similar is still a bit of a stretch. I still like don't even think that the word similar applies here. I just genuinely don't see the resemblance between the two. And I really feel like I can guarantee that Taylor has never seen this. Let alone that if she had seen it, she would have been like, I'm so inspired by this to copy it and make my own version. La Dart's lawyer came out and put out this statement saying that her client feels strongly that her work needs to be compared to Swift's before a conclusion is made. It was also added that the decision to file the complaint was not taken lightly, given the fact that, of course, they're going up against Taylor Swift, and that she hopes that the masses will understand it from her perspective. I don't want to be mean, but I just don't see, even from her point of view, how she would assume that Taylor Swift stole like the entire concept of like her era for Lover from her. You know, if she had argued that the lyrics were stolen from her poems, or that some lyrics in some of her poems, or that the themes in her poems were very similar to, I don't know. I feel like something like that could have been a bit stronger than just saying, hey, there's similar colors. Like, I'm sure there's a lot of things that have this color palette. Hey, she's looking up, then she's looking down, then she's looking to the side. Like, that's probably every girl's Instagram ever. Like, everybody takes pictures looking up, looking down, looking to the side. And of course, when you're putting something like this together, you need variation. You're not gonna have every picture of you looking up, every picture of you looking the same. But in essence, all the pictures between La Dart and Taylor, they're completely different images. La Dart has her dog in like most of the images. The whole concept of her book is that her dog is her lover, so even in concept it's completely different from Taylor's. But of course, it's just my opinion. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Do you feel like if you were in her shoes, you would also be suing Taylor? Do you think that it's justified that she's asking for $1 million in damages? Because I don't see how she can assume that it was at her expense that people decided to buy Taylor's book and not hers. I also tried to Google a little bit for research, and I found a quote from Aaron Moss, a veteran litigator at the firm Greenberg Glusker. He writes about copywriting lawsuits for his website, and he said, "As far as I can tell, she isn't claiming that any of the actual content is similar. The idea of memorializing a series of recollections over numbers of years by interspersing written and pictorial components isn't protectable. If it were, this person might as well sue anyone who has ever written a diary or a scrapbook." He later went on to say that this case was probably just going to be dismissed and not taken forward. So it seems that experts on this type of topics don't even think that this really stands a chance in court. But thank you for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I really want to hear your opinion on this whole lawsuit. Do you think Teresa La Dart has a point with what she's doing by suing Taylor for $1 million over this? Do you see her point of view differently? Do you think that the artworks are similar enough that there should be a lawsuit? Or do you think she's just looking for like a minute of fame? Let me know in the comments, and I hope to see you all in my next video. Bye!